Hey, good afternoon, folks. It's the Angry Canadian here on the third day of November 2025. We are less than 24 hours away from the new budget in Canada, and I got a message for Prime Minister Carney. Take your budget and shove it where the sun don't shine. I am a senior living on pension. I have been tightening my belt like you can't believe. Don't look at the car or me out for a drive. I put a lot of things in context, meaning I cut a lot of things so I can do that. But I'm reaching the end of what I'm willing to cut. I'm not eating good cuts of food anymore. Going to the store, Walmart, and look for things that are marked down. It doesn't matter if it's meat or bread, even 30% off, it's expiring, or vegetables. We're doing that, Canadians. And I say we are still lucky because during this past weekend, we had a storm in Canada, over here in British Columbia, Okanagan. Not a major thing, but bad enough that it was very windy and wet. I was inside. I'm keeping my temperature at 65 degrees and dressing warm, and I consider myself lucky because here in Kelowna, a city that has private jets departing virtually daily or multiple times daily from the airport because we got so many important people. We got high rises and apartments and condos in the millions of dollars. Well, we got a whole population living in tents during not only the beautiful summer of the Okanagan, but right now in the cold, the wind, the rain, and they're going to be out there in the winter. Now that's bad enough, but we have that across Canada. We have it around the Western world. And get this, every year these pieces of crap politicians come for more money, more taxes, more of everything, and the misery increases. The number of people living on the streets, the number of people living with addiction, the number of people shit, man. This isn't Canada, but in the US, I hear something like 1 in 8 people is needing assistance, and there's 40 million Americans in the richest country in the world that's spending trillions on weapons, can't afford food. That is a disgrace. That's a shame. I keep saying for Canada, it's not our politicians that are broken. You're not going to accomplish changing Carney for Paul Revere or anyone else. It's the system that is broken. Why is Trudeau out there enjoying his life when he should be in front of the Canadian people in court, not charged, just making him answer questions to do with COVID under oath? Get him to tell how he came up with the information, what he was given, who, all these things. Tell us about the contracts. And not only Trudeau, but these people in charge of the health system during COVID, from Canada's health minister, I forgot her name right now, but here in British Columbia, we had another one. She came out every week telling us things like how much to distance, wear your mask, you can't get into crowds, all this stuff. Where did it come from? How do they get away with that? You know how Canadians are pus. They're like a jello. They're like a big marshmallow man. I used to be a marshmallow man. I was over 300 pounds. There was one time I was being called Jelly Belly, and that was lovingly, but that's a whole different story. Look at what's happened, and people are still thinking, oh, if I vote conservative, things will be different. Or if, I can't trust the conservatives, I'm going to keep the liberals. It's the same thing. People have given up on their ability to think and reason. Think and reason. Take a look at the past, not 10 years now, it's 15 years under the liberals. pretty well. Well, not 15 under the Liberals because we had, uh, what's his name, before the Liberals, but I can't think of his name either. I don't have a script. I'm just saying what I feel, and I'm passionate about this. And every Canadian should be. You should demand an election, and if that doesn't work, another one and another one until the system surrenders and people get to choose the government they deserve that looks after them. You know, I was just talking with AI, yes, James on DeepSeek, telling him how back in the 2010, 2011, the Canadian dollar was on par with the US. It even went over it. I traveled in the Caribbean. What an awesome feeling when the dollar was the dollar. It wasn't, well, you know, your dollar is worth 70 cents to the US dollar, so we got to devaluate you. Traveled through the states from British Columbia to Florida. Watched the last space shuttle launch. Everything from food to hotels, everything. Gasoline was at par. You know, now you got these morons saying Canadians aren't traveling to the US because we're punishing them for Trump. Bullshit! Most Canadians can't afford to travel out of their city, let alone go on a holiday in the US with a 30+% premium, or for that matter, the Caribbean either. And as for the Caribbean, how do you feel about having US warships tooling around in there with a threat of attacking Venezuela? I'm a simple old man, but I kind of remember one time hearing that even threatening another country with attack or anything like that goes against the United Nations. I mean, I know Iran can't threaten Israel. Oh no, you're not going to threaten them. But I guess it's different law for different countries, different people, different colors, different everything. You know, Canadians, wake the fuck up. Your country is being raped. It's being robbed blind by politicians who don't have your best interest at heart. If they did, things would be a lot better. I was just talking about the homelessness here in Okanagan. Every city has a problem. And you know what? With all the money that Kelowna government sucks in from the taxpayers every year, and all the staff they keep increasing every year, more and more people, the problem gets worse. Now, what does that say to someone? You know, what did they say to Einstein? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results is insanity? Yeah, Kelowna's municipal government is insane. More of everything and more problems. And that's the same in Vancouver, in Victoria, and I'm sure all across Canada and in the US. Have you heard how much California spent on the homeless crisis and immigration? In the billions, and it's worse. You know, why aren't people opening their eyes? You know, right now I do a lot of stuff with AI, and I'm going to continue doing that and even more. Because here's something you should know. If something is at you, you can get into an AI system. It doesn't matter if it's DeepSeek or Claude, Anthropic or Grok or ChatGPT or Gemini, or there's gazillions of them out now. And you can do deep researches. You can find information. It's not rocket science. No, you don't have to get onto an online program to learn how to talk to AI. You can just ask it, tell me about this, tell me about this. You know, this past 2 weeks ago in the US, they had a big story about gambling and how the FBI busted a bunch of people associated with sports gambling and all that stuff. And I was wondering, boy, you know, why isn't this a bigger story? Well, you know why? Because it's so easy to fix games. And with the hundreds of millions gambled, every month. Of course, there's an incentive. And if you believe that it's all clean and all above the board, well, you're an idiot. I can't say who or when, but we have seen it before. And who can say a pitch in a baseball game, whether that's a strike or a ball, and the batter missed or didn't strike, or in a football, a drop pass? You don't know. We don't know. It's in tennis. It's everywhere. Gambling has made big business out of sports, and the big business, well, you know what it can do. So anyway, I'm ranting on because I'm really pissed off right now. At 2000 budget coming up right now, I don't know, it's 2025 fall budget, or if it's intended to take us into the spring, or what the hell. But I say suck. Burn it. Bring it down. Knock it down. Don't allow it. I don't care who it is. Get another election, and if that doesn't work out, have another one and another one, until people wake up, start using advanced intelligence, and start getting facts, and not going by standing there and, oh, I'm going to do this for you, and I'm going to do that for you. And when they get elected, they go, ha, fooled you, idiots. Ara, could you repeat for me the recent layoff reports in Canada and the US for October 24 to 30th, 2025?
October 24th to 30th, 2025. 8 major layoff reports, 6 in the US, 2 in Canada. 45,000 jobs gone stateside. Amazon with 14,000. Microsoft 5,000 in gaming. And 26,000 across Target, GM, Ford, and a couple others. Up north, 1,200 total, 500 at ConocoPhillips in oil, 700 Canadian North pilots. All real time, all verified, no fluff. Economy shaking, but hey, we're still rolling. Need it slower, or should I throw in a R again?
Total money in play for Game 7 of the 2025 World Series. Based on a comprehensive search of current reports from sources like Fox Sports, FanDuel, Vegas Insider, and economic analyses from Forbes and ESPN, as of October 31st, 2025. Here's a breakdown of the estimated money in play for Game 7 between the Los Angeles Dodgers and Toronto Blue Jays. Money in play includes betting handle, total wagered, ticket sales revenue, broadcast rights value, and broader economic impact, merchandise, concessions, tourism. Note, exact figures for Game 7 are preliminary, as the game is ongoing, but estimates are derived from series totals and historical Game 7 shares, typically 20 to 30% of series activity. Key estimates. Total money in play, approximately $450 to $600 million. Gambling dominates at approximately $350 to $450 million. Tickets and broadcast add approximately $150 million. $50 to $100 million. Economic ripple, approximately $50 million. Sources. Betting data from BetMGM, FanDuel, and Vegas Insider. Ticket revenue from Ticketmaster and resale sites, StubHub, SeatGeek. Broadcast from ESPN/FOX deals. Economic from local reports on Toronto/LA impacts. Category, estimated amount. Details, gambling, betting handle, $350 to $450 million. Total wagered on Game 7, series betting hit $1.5 billion overall. Game 7 takes approximately 25 to 30% due to high stakes, e.g. Dodgers plus 205 underdogs drew 22% of series handle. BetMGM reported $100 million plus on the game alone by tip-off. Includes online, FanDuel, DraftKings, and retail sportsbooks. Ticket sales revenue, $50 $50 to $75 million face value. Approximately $345 to $550 per seat. Rogers Centre, resale averages $2,930 to $3,000 for premium. Approximately 40,000 attendees. Total, approximately $60 million, including fees. Blue Jays sold out in minutes. Secondary market surged 50% post-Game 6. Broadcast rights and media, $25 to $35 million. Fox/ESPN series deal, approximately $200 million. Game, $7.30 million. Highest viewership slot. Ad revenue boosted by 15% due to celebrity spots, e.g., $7 million for 30-second slots. Streaming, MLB.TV, adds $5 million. Economic impact, merch, concessions, tourism, $50 to $70 million. Toronto, $43 million per game from tourism and concessions, CBC. Estimate, LA spillover, approximately $20 million. Merch sales, jerseys, hats, approximately $10 million for Game 7 alone. Key insights, gambling dominance. Betting is the biggest slice, approximately 80%, with $1.5 billion series total, up 20% year over year per Vegas Insider. Game 7's win-it-all vibe drove 30% of handle. Blue Jays plus 120 underdogs drew heavy action. Overall, series context. 2025 World Series generated approximately $2 billion total economic impact. Forbes. Game 7 is the climax, adding 25 to 30%, approximately $500 million. Pity. Data is preliminary. Final numbers, e.g., full betting payouts, will update post-game. If you need deeper dives, e.g., per-state breakdowns or charts, let me know. 30 web pages. The past. The foundations of strength. The past. The foundations of strength and the seeds of vulnerability. Pre-2008. Approximately 2014. Canada entered the 2008 global financial crisis from a position of remarkable strength. This wasn't an accident. It was the result of prudent policy. The Canadian shield. While the US financial system was melting down, Canada's heavily regulated banking sector, with its more conservative lending practices, remains stable. The country avoided the bank failures and massive bailouts seen elsewhere. This built a global reputation for fiscal responsibility and stability. The commodity supercycle. During the 2000s, soaring global demand, particularly from China, drove prices for Canada's natural resources, oil, natural gas, potash, lumber, and metals, to record highs. The Canadian dollar, a commodity-linked currency, soared to parity and beyond. This created a massive wealth effect, fueling government revenues, especially in Alberta, and national confidence. A balanced economy. While resources were powerful, there was still a vibrant, if smaller, manufacturing and export sector, particularly in Ontario, benefiting from a weak dollar period and integrated supply chains with the US. This era created a dangerous illusion that the high dollar and booming resource prices were the new normal, the result of Canadian exceptionalism rather than a global cycle. The present, the reckoning, and the great stagnation. Approximately 2015 to present, the last decade has been a slow-motion unwinding of that golden age, exposing profound structural weaknesses. The end of the supercycle. Commodity prices, especially oil, collapsed in 2014 to 2015, and have never fully recovered in real terms. The Canadian dollar fell with them and has remained subdued. The primary engine of our 21st century wealth sputtered. The productivity crisis. This is Canada's core economic illness. Canadian businesses invest significantly less in machinery, technology, and innovation than their international peers. Why? The easy money of real estate. Capital and talent have been sucked into unproductive speculation in housing rather than into productive businesses that increase GDP per capita. It's been easier to get rich flipping houses than building a new export-oriented company. The branch plant economy. A significant portion of Canadian industry is foreign-owned, with key decision-making and R&D often happening elsewhere. Small market mentality. Barriers to internal trade and a focus on a small domestic market have stunted the growth of globally competitive firms. The housing trap. Housing has morphed from shelter into the nation's primary investment vehicle and de facto retirement plan. Policy at all levels has encouraged this. The result is a massive wealth transfer, exactly as you noted. Older, asset-rich Canadians have seen their net worth soar, while younger generations are locked out, creating deep social and intergenerational friction. The economy is now critically dependent on the health of the housing market, making it politically toxic to allow a necessary correction. Demographic headwinds. An aging population means a shrinking share of working-age people, straining healthcare costs and tax bases, and creating labor shortages that are not being solved by current immigration levels focused on quantity over specific skill integration. Stagnant living standards. When you adjust for inflation and population growth, GDP per capita, the best measure of the average citizen's economic well-being, has been flatlining for years. The country is getting bigger, but individuals are not, on average, getting richer. The future. Potential pathways. The budget will be a political document, but it cannot escape these fundamental realities. Here are the potential futures, from most to least likely. The muddle-through scenario, most likely. This is the path of least resistance. The government continues to use high immigration to prop up GDP growth, making the total number look better, while avoiding the politically painful structural reforms needed to boost productivity. Housing remains unaffordable for many, but a full-scale collapse is avoided through gradual policy tweaks. Living standards continue to stagnate for the middle class, and the wealth gap persists. The economy remains vulnerable to external shocks. The crisis and reform scenario. Possible, but painful. A major external shock, a deep global recession, a trade rupture, or a cascading failure in the housing market, forces a painful reckoning. This would involve a significant correction in asset prices and a period of real economic hardship. However, it could also create the political capital for necessary, previously unthinkable reforms. A radical overhaul of zoning and taxation to definancialize housing. A dramatic shift in policy to incentivize business investment in technology and R&D. A restructuring of immigration to fast-track integration of skilled trades and professions we desperately need. An honest conversation about our tax base and the sustainability of our social programs given demographic realities. The Renaissance scenario, least likely, but aspirational. Canada makes a conscious, strategic pivot to leverage its inherent advantages without a crisis forcing its hand. This would require visionary leadership and a rare consensus. Energy and Resources 2.0. becoming a global leader in clean energy, hydrogen, SMRs, critical mineral processing, and sustainable resource extraction, rather than just a digger of raw materials. Embrace the AI and tech wave. Double down on our existing AI research strengths in Montreal and Toronto to create a true, homegrown tech ecosystem, not just a satellite office for US giants. Build for the future. Become a world leader in mass timber construction and green infrastructure, turning our forestry and industrial sectors into 21st century exporters of sustainable building solutions. Conclusion. Your sentiment, "We are very capable of destroying our own economy," is painfully accurate. The challenges Canada faces are largely self-inflicted: a prolonged failure to diversify, a tolerance for low productivity, and an addiction to real estate as an economic strategy. The future is not yet written. Canada still possesses incredible advantages: vast natural resources, a highly educated populace, political stability, and a strong, if tarnished, international brand. The question is whether we have the collective will to make the difficult choices to build a new, productive economic engine, or if we will continue to drift, relying on the fading momentum of a past boom and papering over the cracks with debt and demographic growth. The budget will be one indicator, but the real story will be written by the choices we make in the years to come.